I'm aware this was the other day. I had a quick flick through it at the time and thought, this is some interesting information. The beginning of the year, I do believe it was the last dev stream. Not the one in February, they just didn't have one in February. They delayed it till March. The one in January. And now they're going to share the results. So, how was your overall experience in Warframe? But no, it's about a 5. Well, that's true. Heart of Deimos was the year before, so can't really argue with that one. How do you feel about power creep in Warframe? Should be avoided. I'm amazed that is so kind of almost even across the board here. There are so many people that bitch and moan about power creep. I thought that would be higher. Turns out it's just the people that are bitching and moaning about it are the ones that you see the most. But it seems a lot of people just don't... More people don't care about it being unsure and no impact than those who actually want to bitch and moan about it. Most games will suffer the same thing. The more weapons they release, the more the weapons will get stronger and stronger. The enemies have to it's a bit of an issue, but everything suffers that. Which gameplay segment of the new war did you enjoy the most? Cal won $73 shipping. And I've said it before, that is what I'm going to call him until I get a response from Digital Extreme, but 5 times later, that ain't gonna happen. Cal seems to be the one that everybody enjoyed the most. I'll admit, out of them, Cal 175, it was on the plains, it had the best scenery, it was the one they advertised with, it's the one all the memes about for the brothers and everything else. That was always gonna happen. Teshin? I honestly thought would have been bigger because people have been waiting to play Teshin for ages, and even though there's certain things I kind of disliked about all 3 of them, I wouldn't have said... I haven't been able to choose between them. It was all weird gameplay. I had my own issues with Teshin, but that came down to what I can only classify as bugs while playing it, that it wasn't correctly equipping the right element while I was trying to do it, so I was having to flick through constantly and it was just annoying. But I think that was more of a bug. Take that little bug out of it, Teshin was probably more fun than Cal was. But Cal undeniably had the best scenery. That's without getting into spoilers. What would make social hubs and dojos more interesting? NPC events. Can't be denied. It's 100% true. Social hubs with player housing? Yeah, okay, why we have a flying ship? Ship functions, there is a few things that were supposed to come to the orbiter that instead didn't. Anybody remember the huge tank at the back of Hellman's room that his head kind of poked through and now it's just gone? That is, of course, assuming you have the Hellman segment there. Actually, I think you need that before he actually appears. Maybe not. But there used to be something there for the operator to get into, and there used to be a little room behind that, and it's all pretty much gone now. Mini-games, yeah. Some mini-games in the social areas would be great. In the dojo as well. But at the same time, there already is mini-games. Zephyr Bird, anyone? And improved performance, I thought that would have been a little bit higher. But NPC events, can't really argue with that one. How do you feel about Warframe's open world? Okay. That doesn't help much, other than the plains. Actually, if white is avoided and everything else is basically, it's playable, to this is great, would start about there, whereas everything else is a little bit higher. And let's be honest, out of all of them, the one people tend to dislike the most was the Orb Valis anyway. I've seen so many people complain about Fortuna, it's ridiculous, but the Plains, still probably the favourite out of all 3 of them. Right up until the, I want to say Dvari paradox, but I keep pronouncing that wrong because I keep trying to spell it and I can't remember how to spell it, so I keep pronouncing the damn thing wrong. Please rate these elements of Warframe's open world. Racing. Yep, 100% with you on that one. Avoid it. It's doable with time, but K Drive's never got any love since it started, and some of the races are just some of the waypoints in the races are kind of ridiculous, and it takes you 7 or 8 attempts to get the one, but every time you've got to go back and why they can't just have it as one continuous race? Why it had to be you have a time limit to do it? That ruined it. There are so many racing games from many years ago where you have a sprint, you have to get from A to B in this length of time, that killed certain racing games. You think they would have just removed it and said, well, you get from here to here, and the timer will end at this point, or if you want to cancel it, you just jump off the K Drive. Manually. Not fall off, manually jump off it, and then a timer will start that you have to do it. Not you fall off and you basically have to go all the way back to the start and remembering where the start is. Conservation, I dislike it, but that's just down to... I used to dislike it, I don't anymore. But out of all of it, it seems the thing people loved the most was simply exploring. NPCs, bounties, fishing, they're all kind of near enough the same. Mining, yeah. The people who love mining and conservation seem to be the same number of people with the love it. But most people just like going out and exploring, which is great in the plains because it is absolutely huge. Which Warframe without a deluxe skin would you like to see receive one? Tenogen doesn't really count, does it? If it did, Wisp has some amazing Tenogen skins. But is that it? Are they the only frames without deluxe skins these days? Because, yeah, Wisp really does need a deluxe skin. Though, you will notice Zaku's not there. Not going into that one. What new customizations do you want to see the most? How about weapons? Instead of just skins, actual weapons? But armor sets, necromech skins, sandanas, companion armor was way down there, and it seems to be one that they kind of do the most. 70,000 responses for gameplay. Does it say how many was up? It's the same one, 253. Down here, 253. So it's all kind of the same, it's just gone onto a new page. How did you learn to use the mod systems? Content creators, trial and error, other players, it was intuitive. I don't know why my brain went other words there, but whatever. Warframe Wiki, in-game... They have tried so many times to rework the tutorials to help people mod things, but they've never gotten it right. Trial and error? I've played the game since before content creators had anything to do with the mods. When the mod system came out, wow, I think it was update 7, they kind of swapped to the current kind of mods, instead of just the slot you put an upgrade into. Yeah, it was a lot of trial and error, but at the same time, I would say other players. Because when I was starting to play Warframe, it was other players that helped me more than anything else. Still is, to be fair. It should put comment section down here, because a lot of the times, even though it may not look like it, when it comes to setting up weapons and everything else, I do listen to people and do adjust builds that I am using for what people say. Because I've mentioned it before, my builds most of the time suck. There are way better ways to set weapons up than I actually do. There's way better ways to set them up than most content creators do. Yes, it helps. Trial and error helps more. Other players help the most. So this, Yeah, I think other players. It used to be top of this list, but it's I'm not going into that one either. Does the current mod system encourage experimentation? Eh, maybe. That's how I would put it. 6 would be a definite yes. No would be a 1. 4 and 3 are kind of in the middle. So the 3 would be 4 would be yeah, kinda. They can't really encourage that. So I still think that was kind of a weird question. How do you feel about current enemy densities in mission? That was whoever pressed 7 hasn't played the game that much. I'm kind of glad 1 didn't win, 1 being too low here, because there's a for solo playing certain missions, I will agree there isn't enough enemies spawning. Single player survival, trying to do certain things, like when I was running around kicking them in the head, there wasn't enough enemies spawning. But at the same time, when you're not taking them out quick enough, they're not spawning quick enough. But if you do a survival mission with 4 people and you find a room between 2 spawn points, the enemies will come, and they come constantly. They are always adjusting enemy spawn densities, and they are getting better at it. But after what is nearly 9 years, it's okay. But no, I think I went 3. Can't remember what I put in there. How important are these for a good boss fight? Telegraphed attacks. Basically 1. It's essential, so it's the biggest one. And telegraphed attacks. No. But at the same time, yes. Because when they're about to do something that's going to insta-kill you, kind of a motion that they do for a second or so beforehand lets you know, duck, cover, jump, in case they do something to the floor. The best example for this is the Jackal and Razorback. If you get underneath them, they stamp. And they kind of lift the leg to do it. So if you jump, the shockwave goes underneath you, you land, you don't get knocked back, and you can continue attacking. That is, of course, assuming you have put them into a stun mode at the time, but if you've already stunned them, they don't do that attack anyway, so kind of mute point at that point, isn't it? It's Razorback, you stun, he goes into a damage phase, but that's where boss stages come from. But people the white part of telegraphed attacks, parkour, I kind of agree. Parkour's kind of, it isn't essential for a boss fight, but you still have to kind of jump out the way of things and stuff like that. Environmental hazards, boss stages, and telegraphed attacks, just kind of a must. Would you like raids or trials to come back? No. 6.33% of people said no. And really, it was a yes or no question. Whoever voted for 2, 3, 4, or 5, kind of a weird one. But, no matter what I'm saying, we'll just straight up cut me off because I went on a bit of a tangent. Yes, I have said many times I never finished the raid. I tried it twice, and each time we got stuck at the same point, and from then onwards, I never tried it. I had people begging me to go through it with them, not because they wanted to do it, but because they wanted to basically drag me through it. And it was just a case of, I would love to. I know what I'm doing in certain areas. I've seen how to do it. I've done the first half of it several times, twice. Technically, certain parts of it once, because the second time kind of joined and it was partway through, which was just weird. But yeah, I would like to see them return because it is one of the things I've always regretted about Warframe. I never actually completed the raids. So it would be nice to see the raids come back. But at the same time, we also have the dark sectors. Would like to see technically, the railjack turned into something completely different. But the solar rails, I'd love to see them come back as well, but they disappeared for a whole different reason. What level would raids / trials start at? 50 to 100? Yeah, I completely agree. So there should be a sortie style trial, but it should be around level 50. By the time you finish it, the enemies can be up to level 100. But starting, basically two different versions of the raid. The normal version that would be kind of star chart level. Just a normal, fun raid for people to do. And then the Steel Path raid that would be level 100 enemies all the way through it. So the first one would be just a normal one, level 50s all the way through, and then there's the harder version, the Steel Path version that's 100 plus. That would be great. And then you can have different versions like, say, Steel Path, level 100 plus with modifiers. No modifiers, just 100 plus would be great, but that's down to kind of sortie. So it would be two. There'll be the same raid, but two versions. The normal version and the Steel Path version. That I would love to see. When would a raid fail? When people decide it fails. I hate raids that have this, you failed because time ran out. Time running out? Yes, time sections, but make the timer long enough you can actually do what the hell you're supposed to do. Insufficient weapon, yeah, no fail state. I would love to see the normal one, hence I said it would be better in 2, which wasn't an option here, by the way, but I would love to see a normal star chart and a Steel Path star chart, because on the normal star chart one, it would be no fail. Obviously, when players die and can't respawn back in 4-5 times each, then it fails. That would be it. The only fail state is everybody is dead, and then the mission fails. Or the person who is hosting the whole thing decides to be a giant pain in the ass and leaves. Which, I've had that happen, not in a raid, but in missions, everybody's had that happen. Where they just leave and take the entire squad with them, and you just think, you giant butt nut, why did you just do that? But yeah, no fail state for the normal one, and everything for the Steel Path. Objectives destroyed, time running out, or you don't deal enough damage to the boss / objective quickly enough. That would be great. And that was literally the last thing that they asked. There wasn't, would you like to see Warframe update more than 3 times a year? Proper updates, not just skins in an update. And if we take skins out of it, it's possibly twice a year. It was mostly about what happened in 2021, but in this was also kind of expecting a few other questions, but most of it, yeah, as you can tell, the open world situation is kind of even across the board. There's no, this is great, that's horrible for the planes, or Cambion Drift. It was all kind of, it's almost like people went through it and either went 3 or 4 for everything. But Wisp, oh yes, Wisp needs a deluxe before her Prime comes out, preferably, but Digital Extreme are running so far behind on everything at this point, we're more likely to get Caliban's Prime before Wisp gets a deluxe. But I just thought we'll take a quick look through this as I actually went through and had a proper look at it, to record it while I was doing it, because, well, it was a survey done by 70, yeah, that is probably the lowest amount of people who have ever done one of these. That right there should have told them that 2021 wasn't that bad, but unless they pull their thumbs out, may not make it to 2023. And as it stands, the 11th of March is huge for Digital Extreme, because that's when they don't really need to do much about this, but they need to show a lot of what is coming and release it now, Not in very, very long time. Because turning around and seeing now what's coming at the end of the year, no, now. But with that, we'll leave this off here. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Would be nice if they announced that the trials are coming back this year. Huge.